Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time. Today we're going to analyze the horoscopes of Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet. Maybe you have already seen my video about different kind of high level soulmates or divine counterparts. If not, I can only urge you to watch that first, because there I go a bit into the theory of different kind of counterpart astrology, and here we're going more into using it and to determine whether or not Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet might be twin flames or soulmates or anything like that, and what kind of hints we find in their horoscopes. So we are going to look at different things today, and also if you are interested in your own analysis like this, you can book that with me. You will find my contact information in the about me side and also in the description box below, so you can book your own reading just like that. And one thing is that you may find it here, Jason Momoa, we don't have his exact birth time, unfortunately. We do have his date, but not the time, which means you can see it here. We don't have the houses, unfortunately, and we do have it with Lisa. However, we do have her time, and many of you may not have the exact birth time of your divine counterpart. So this is how it would look like if you only have your person's birth date. You would need that. That is important. And it would be important to at least have your exact time and place of birth in order to analyze that. But yeah, let's dive in right now. And we're going to start with why I chose to do a horoscope on them. I found this article. I don't think this might be the most reliable source. However, let's just see what we got here. I'm just going to read it a bit. During a 2017 interview, Jason Momoa admitted to the Late Late Show with host James Corden, that he'd always known Lisa Bonet was the one for him. Ever since I was like 8 years old and I saw her on TV, and I was like, "Mommy, I want that one," he confessed to Corden. "I didn't tell her that until we had 2 babies, otherwise it'd be creepy and weird," the actor sweetly added. "I've always wanted to meet her. She was a queen always." And they had met before. Then they met through a mutual friend, and it's unclear whether Momoa was still with McKinnon. He knew he'd met his soulmate. That was it, Momoa added. "We had Guinness and grits, and you know the rest of the story." Since they first met, basically. While Jason Momoa nursed a sweet spot for Lisa Bonet for years, the ex-wife of Lenny Kravitz knew shortly after meeting Momoa that he was special. "I can't say it was full on from the moment we saw each other, but we have been together from the day we met," Bonet candidly told Net Porter magazine in 2018. "In that moment, love came, and it came big. He basically picked me up and threw me over his shoulder, caveman style." So, yes. Some of you may think this sounds kind of familiar when you have met a divine counterpart. And we want to determine whether or not, obviously when you just read that, both knew from the beginning. So we want to find out what kind of counterpart may they be. And I have to address, I can never ever say 100% yes or no, especially since we don't have all of Jason Momoa's data. Okay, there's half of the data missing. So we're just going to get closer to the truth. But however, I always point out, even if they're not twin flames or would not be twin flames, it doesn't mean that their relationship would be any less. So even if a horoscope reading would determine that you're more likely with a high level soulmate, a divine counterpart, because twin flames are only one kind of divine counterparts, only one kind out of several, okay? And a divine counterpart is the person you may spending the rest of your life with, and you have that beautiful intimate connection. To be honest, by what we just read, it doesn't hint at twin flame energy, because we know twin flames often come with a very severe awakening process, and often there is some, not always, but often there is some kind of separation. And I personally, just reading their story but also diving into the astrology, I don't think that they are twin flames. I do think, however, that they are soulmates. We're going to talk about why I don't think that they are twin flames, because there is many indications that say otherwise than being twin flames. However, I do see a special connection, and in order to determine that, we're going to analyze three things basically. We're first going to analyze their horoscope separately, and then we do the comparison, the synastry and the composites, and we do have the asteroids here as well. However, let's start with analyzing their energy separately. And I want to point out that this part right now, I'm not analyzing so much of their personality. That would be too much for this video. That's not what I want to cover in this video. In this video, I would like to cover what kind of indications are there for them having a high soul relationship, high level soulmate relationship. Okay, it's not about their personality so much. So what I did is I already prepared an Excel sheet where I put in all of the data that we have here. We do have, for example, you see here Jason Momoa has the sun in Leo, and we do have Lisa here with the sun in Scorpio. And I just put all of this in this Excel chart right here to make it easier for you to see what I did there, because soulmates often have connections, not just in synastry, we're going to talk about that next, but also they have similar energy often. And one thing you find very often in higher soul connections, and we do have that here as well, is that they have the same sun, moon or rising sign. And we do see that Lisa has the sun in Scorpio and Jason has the moon in Scorpio. So we do have this special connection here already. And what I did here is also soulmates often have something in the same house or a sign, house or sign, or the opposite sign. So you often would see, for example, somebody has the sun in Scorpio and the other person may have it in the opposite sign, which would be Taurus. And also never neglect the houses when it comes to soulmate astrology. I feel they have been absolutely neglected, but you need them. Since we don't have Jason's time, we only have half the information here. We don't have the houses, but still you can see that there is some connection. Unfortunately, I already said I don't think that they are twin flames. They are soulmates. But since we don't have Jason's half of the information, unfortunately, I could never say like this is like 100% sure, because we don't know. Maybe he has the sun in the 8th house, which would be the Scorpio house, so they both would have the sun loaded with Scorpio energy. Or maybe he would have Mars in Gemini, but in her house, which would be the Capricorn house, it's the 10th house, or vice versa. Maybe he has Gemini in whatever house, and let's say she has Cancer, so maybe he has Gemini in the 4th house, something like that. But we will go through what I have here. We have Lisa, the sun in Scorpio, and the opposite sign would be Taurus, and her sun is in the 5th house. I can show you here, it's the 5th house. The opposite house of the 5th, of course, is the 11th. Okay, the opposite sign of Scorpio is Taurus. You can see that here. And the opposite house from the 5th is the 11th. So this is what I did here. Sorry, that was the wrong thing. I don't know why I still have that open. However, the 11th house would be the Aquarius house. Okay, I wrote in brackets what sign that house relates to. So we check. Okay, the sun is in Scorpio. The opposite sign would be Taurus. It is in the 5th house, so Leo energy. And the 11th would be Aquarius, meaning her sun is loaded with Scorpio and Leo energy, because it's the sign and it's the house of Leo. That is what her energy is loaded with. And the opposite would be Taurus and Aquarius. And soulmates often have something related to that, that he would either have his sun in one of those signs. For him, it is not the sun, it's the moon. You have to check sun, moon, rising. They kind of like go together. But we do have, he's a Leo and the opposite sign would be Aquarius. Oh, see, I missed that. She's got, yeah, we do have that. Sun, 5th house, and Leo. Sorry, I kind of missed that earlier. So we do have that connection here. I wrote that later on, but yeah. See, we just saw that. I kind of missed that earlier. Shame on me. But that would be typical, something like that. Then we do have the moon. Her moon is in Taurus and in the 11th house, which is the Aquarius house. And we kind of have this connection here too, because for him it is the opposite sign. Okay, he has the moon in Scorpio. The opposite side would be Taurus. And sometimes the opposite sign, it's like this yin-yang energy. So we do have another connection here with the moon. Moon in Taurus and the opposite Taurus. Okay? See where I'm getting? Unfortunately, we don't have his rising sign, so we can neglect that. Her Mercury is in Scorpio and in the 4th house, in the Cancer house. So we have Scorpio and Cancer, and those would be the opposing energies. He doesn't have any of these. He does have, again, I said it before, we have this connection between his Scorpio moon and her Scorpio sun. So sun and moon, the sun is the male part, and the moon is more the feminine energy, but they both share that in Scorpio. Then we do have Libra. Libra is Aries and Cancer, and we don't have any match here with then Jupiter. We don't have any match here. But again, those are the most important. Sun, moon, rising, those are the most important. Okay, Venus, Mars, of course, are important as well. But here we are leaving the personal planets. We're going to the more generational planets. We have Virgo, Pisces, no match here. No match here. Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius, no match here. No here. No here. I'm just reading everything again because I kind of missed that. Okay, then one thing is very important. You cannot do any soulmate astrology and neglect Juno. Juno is basically telling you about your soulmate. We do have different things in our horoscope that kind of like indicate what we're into. For example, with women it's the Mars sign. Mars sign is very important. It shows you what she is into. She likes this Capricorn energy. Here you don't see a lot of Capricorn, but again we don't have his houses. Maybe he has a very strong 10th house, which would mean that he has strong Capricorn energy. Okay. Also, what I kind of like didn't do, we can check if he, for example, has strong Capricorn energy because he's got a lot connected to his Saturn, which he doesn't have. He's got one connection to, you kind of neglect that. You don't have to, Neptune is not a very strong influence. Not too strong, but however, maybe he has strong Capricorn because he has a strong 10th house. We don't know that. However, Jupiter is often also telling us about who would be a good match for us, and we have Virgo energy here. But when you want to look about your soulmate, you have to look at Juno, and we have her Juno in Libra. The opposite would be Aries, and his Juno is in Gemini. And it doesn't have to be a match. For example, let's check Juno here. I am a Virgo sun, and my soulmate, he has his sun in the sign of Virgo, so that is a match. However, I have Juno in Sagittarius, and basically all of this relates to my soulmate, and most of it. I mean, we don't have a different religion, and he's not into teaching and education. However, everything else fits my soulmate, even though he's not a Sagittarius. It's still everything you basically see here. So it doesn't have to be like the exact match, the exact sign. Also, again, check houses. Maybe your person, if June Sagittarius, for example, with me, your person may have a strong 9th house because that is connected to Sagittarius, but it doesn't have to be. It can still be a perfect fit because your person exhibits those traits, like from here, coming from a different country. Yeah, there's the traveling and that part. That's like part of my divine counterpart connection. So what did we have with them? So I don't know why I keep getting here. I keep clicking on, sorry, that. We do have Libra and Gemini. Hers is Libra, so let's check Libra. So her perfect soulmates has, your soulmate or partner could be a beautiful, I mean that is kind of Jason Momoa. He is not ugly, a charming and well-mannered. I honestly have never really watched any or a lot of interviews. I have no idea how he is like, so it might be. Additionally, you will enjoy their company and do many things together for many years. I mean, they have been together for many years. I don't know if they share hobbies. The relationship or marriage could be centered on just you two, regardless of children. You will recognize your soulmate instantly as someone you can spend many hours with. And that is kind of what we read earlier, right? That both of them, I mean, he knew it since he was 8, and she immediately also knew that there was someone special. So we do have definitely that connection. And his was Gemini. So your soulmate or partner will like to talk and convince others of their point of view. I don't know if that describes Lisa Bonet. Again, I don't know a lot about these people. The hands are always moving as the mouth does, and love to just jump in the car and go. Additionally, sometimes your marriage partner could be deceitful. Oh, I hate that description of Gemini. It's so outdated in my opinion. So this might be something that describes her, even if she's not a Gemini. Yeah, but in twin flames you often would find some that at least one person has strong energy of the other person's Juno sign. So then, very important also is, I didn't write it down here, but Chiron is important, but not so much the sign energy, but more in synastry. That's why I didn't write it down here. Very important, however, is Eros and Psyche. And because they're basically the sign of twin flames, you could say. So she's got Eros, and it's important, Eros and Psyche, it's not so much that they have the same here. It's more important that one person's Eros is matching the other person's Psyche and vice versa. For example, my twin flame and I have them both in the same sign, in Scorpio, and that is something that also can indicate twin flames when they have one person's Eros and the other person's Psyche in the same sign, or at least form a trine or something like that, or opposite signs, and they kind of have not exactly the opposite, but yeah, they do. I mean, she's got the Eros in Leo, which means the opposite is Aquarius, and he's got his Psyche in Aquarius, which means the opposite is Leo, of course. So they kind of have that connection, that they are not a lot alike, but more opposite. And opposites can be a disaster, of course. And you need to have some harmonies or some similar energies, and they have that here with the sun and the moon. I mean, we do have several indications here in that part, and then the opposites can balance each other out, and they can complement. That's what I was looking for. They can be complementary instead of just being completely different. So that is a beautiful thing they have here. So what we did now is we didn't look at Synastry yet. We just compared their own personal energies, their own personal signs, and see if their counterpart has similar energy that would match. And they don't have a lot in common in here. A true, like a monadic twin flame connection would have everything connected. Basically pretty much everything. And a split twin would have more oppositions. And however, they do have the most important sign. We don't have this rising sign again, but they do have very important connections when it comes to sun and moon. But again, this is not Synastry yet. This is just comparing their own energies, which is important when you want to talk about twin flames. When we talk about soulmates, it is not as important. This part, yeah, you will find something like this in soulmates. However, this is basically more like checking, do they have twin flame energy, and that they do not really have. However, let's go to Synastry to check for the soulmate part, the soul connection part, because we do have a lot there, even though this part, again, this comparing their energies separately from each other, and then that would be important to find out whether it is a true twin flame or either monadic twin flame or split twin flame connection. What I didn't do here is check for the other kind of like soul twin connection. We can do that very quickly. We do have water. Here's water here. There you would check the elements. Now let's not just do that. If you want to find out more about soul twins, you check if they share elements. Like the sun in Scorpio, it's water. He has fire. It's earth. He has water. So again, water and fire. So they don't have a lot of. I don't see any Robo Scorpio. Oh, there we have one. With Juno. Yeah, look, they do both have Juno in earth signs, and in air signs. That is something they have similar. Okay, maybe they're trying. We can check the Synastry, but that is something they have in common. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the next step. So we did that. Again, unfortunately, we don't have his birth time, so we don't have any houses, and we don't have the exact moon position, because the moon is going around the zodiac in 28 days, doing the whole thing. And when he was born that day, between midnight and then next midnight, it's like 13 degrees. You see, it's like when he was born at midnight, it's a 10 degree, and then at 11:59 p.m. it will be at 23 degrees. So that's like a 13 degree move. So we can't, unfortunately, see his exact moon positions, and therefore we cannot see really if he has any connections to Lisa, like any oppositions, trines, squares. So let's check this. I just wanted to show you, this is the asteroid chart. I'm going to close this. I just wanted to show you, we did the Psyche, as I said before. He has Psyche, and compared with my list if you want to make sure I pick the right dates. Unfortunately, you see the houses here, because if you don't know the exact time, it will automatically put it at 12 at noon. But that can be confusing, because again, this sign here, the rising sign houses, may not be right. So let's click that away. I just wanted to show you where I got the dates, or where I got the information about Psyche and Eros and all of that. So, okay, here we do have the Synastry, and Lisa is blue, the blue signs here, and Jason is the orange. What you do see here is they do have plenty of connections, and that is a very important thing when you check for soulmate connections. They would have a lot of connections between their personal planets. So I needed a sip of water. Also very important is, of course, is there connections between one person's Saturn, we do have Lisa Saturn here, and the other person's personal planets. And you want, of course, have the more lighter ones, not so much the squares, because Saturn tells you a lot about has this relationship the ability to stand for a long time. Many people see Saturn as the planet of karma. Yes, it is. Restrictions, yeah, kinda. But also Saturn is serious long-term commitment. It is the planet of time and seriousness, and this indicates also a serious relationship. So we do have these trines here that can indicate, yet this relationship can last till the end. Okay, so very important, we do have a lot of connections. We do have also, which I love, a connection between Saturn and Venus, his Venus, and his Sun, also his Mercury. Then we do have, as I said before, her Sun and his Moon in the same sign. We have no idea whether or not they are a conjunction, because unfortunately we don't have his time, so it could be anywhere here, his Moon. Okay, this is most likely the position of Moon. What I noticed is that both have Pluto and Mars squares individually. Not individually, sorry, in their comparison we have her Mars and squaring his Pluto. And where's his Mars? Here's his Mars squaring her Pluto. And that is something that can talk about love at first sight, intense sexual chemistry. You know, it's the like, I notice you right away. And Pluto is connected kind of like to karma as well, but also about transformation. It's that sexual raw chemistry. So when a couple has that, that is basically one of the soul recognition placements. If we have Pluto connected to another person's personal planet, and we do have the square. Squares can cause some kind of a friction. However, don't be too scared of squares. You don't want everything full of squares. That could be very chaotic in a relationship. Very chaotic, since squares are often, yeah, you can see them some kind of karma or some obstacles you have to overcome. However, you can overcome squares. Squares is something you need to work on. Oppositions, however, is something that will always be there, and you just have to find a way to balance them out. However, squares are just something you can overcome when you work on it. So don't be scared of squares. For example, I found that monadic twin flames often have Venus squares, because the twin flame, the monadic twin flame, is often somewhat different than what you expected. For example, different backgrounds, age gaps, stuff like that. So they're somewhat different, not at the core they're the same, but somewhat different from what you expect, maybe a different love language, and you have to overcome these differences. So don't be too scared of squares, okay? Squares can cause some kind of a friction, which is when it's related to sexual things, not always a bad, but it could be either like really, really bad, like sexually not compatible, like hurting each other, or not just sexually but also in fighting, because Mars is not just sexuality, it's also physically. So that could be something that could indicate like physical fights, but it doesn't have to be. You have to see how else it kind of like transpires. Okay, so we do have this here, but also we see that her Mars is also sextiling his Moon, and that is a very peaceful connection. So when you have like a square that can talk about friction, but then at the same time you have something very harmonious connected to the same planet, it is kind of like evening out. Because I was talking about, it could be violent, but it could also be just amazing sex, right? And this would indicate the latter. So if you have squares, please check if there is something else going on. something positive. Then I wrote down Jason has many contacts with he has many contacts with personal planets. We do see that here. They have contacts to her Venus. We have a Venus sextile, which is very harmonious, and it shows that there's a strong bond between the two, especially since we do have Saturn. Again, Saturn is creating strong bonds. Also, Pluto can go either way, either your best friend or your enemy, but you need to check when you have Pluto connections, is there positive connections as well. They have the Venus sextile Venus, which is very, very, very harmonious, which is another thing that if they fight, probably not for long, because it just both are very loving. And also, since we do have the moon and the sun in the same sign, they kind of get each other. So I don't see a lot of friction, even though we do have the squares here, but again, those squares I would rather translate to good sex than a lot of fighting. I wrote down Jason's Venus and Mercury and Sun is in Lisa's first house. Yes, first house stuff is good stuff for relationships. It is where we shine our light. So Jason is probably making her feel beautiful. Maybe because there is an age gap. Maybe in the beginning she was like, oh, I don't know if this is like, I don't maybe feel good enough or whatever. But the sun in somebody's first house is amazing for any kind of relationship, romantic, friendship, business, whatever it is. My twin flame and I actually do have that as well. His sun is in my first house, and it's like giving somebody a boost of confidence, you could say. And then there is strong physical attraction between those two, because the first house symbolizes the body, and having somebody's sun and Venus in the first house, and as I said before, my twin flame, he has his sun in my first house and my Venus is in his first house. That is really showing that there is strong attraction when it comes to finding the other person attractive, literally attractive. attractive. Then I wrote down, there's this physical attraction. Jupiter in her second house. Jupiter is the planet of fortune, and having somebody's Jupiter in the second house can enhance money, but also the sense of self-worth. The second house is the Taurus house. It is a Venus house, and it is talking about any kind of worth, and worth can be material things, but also self-worth. So this could also indicate that he's just making her feel absolutely beautiful. Another connection about that he may contribute more money into the relationship is not just Jupiter, but also her point of fortune is in the 7th house, and the 7th house is indicating about how we get most of our money. If we ever get rich, how we most likely get rich. And I was very disappointed when I saw in my horoscope as well that I do have that freaking point of fortune in the 7th house, because I always wanted to earn money by myself, and I never wanted because of a guy. Unfortunately, we don't have his point of fortune because we don't have all of his information. So he is basically providing her with a sense of feeling beautiful. Like, didn't we read that earlier? Unfortunately, I clicked it away. He always saw her like a queen. I think that is what we read in that article, right? And that would kind of like indicate that he is basically treating her like that as well, as a queen, putting her a bit on a pedestal, which is a nice thing as long as the partner climbs up to that pedestal as well, right? I wouldn't want to be above my person. Again, we wrote down this part, the sun and the moon in the same sign. We don't have the exact time, so we don't know if it is a conjunction or not. Interesting is that there could be a conjunction between his moon, not just her sun, but also her Neptune, which indicates even more how much he puts her on a pedestal, that he sees her as this transcendental being, as this like angelic being, basically. What I also noticed is that we don't have any Chiron contacts. Here's his Chiron, you see the red line, there's no contact, and where is her Chiron? Where is it? Sorry, I can't see it right now. Oh, there it is. Yeah, again, no Chiron contact. And as I said earlier when I was talking about this, I left it out here because with Chiron it's not so much important do they share signs or houses. With Chiron it's important if there are connections or not. And no Chiron connections to me is also an indication that it's not a twin flame connection, because Chiron is the wounded healer, and Chiron contacts trigger an immense healing process. And especially, of course, if it is one of the personal planets, sun, moon, rising sign, but also, of course, since we are talking about law of Venus, would be very, very, very important. And when you watch for Chiron connections, Chiron is an asteroid, so you want it to be a very close connection. For example, this is way off. It can't be more than 2 degrees. You see the degree here, and 2 degrees would be like 2 of those tiny lines. Okay, they can't be further away. Or of course, if it's like a trine, it can be only like a 2-degree orb. My twin flame and I have, of course, the Chiron connection. It is my Chiron trining his Mercury and his Venus. One of them at 1 degree up, the other one at 2 degree up. Which means that when they met, probably there hasn't been a lot, like too much healing going on. Probably they already have had a strong sense of self, and they didn't, not saying that they didn't like help one another grow. We always grow in relationship, right? But a authentic twin flame connection, as you probably know, has this massive shadow work, which is absolutely important. And no Chiron contact indicate that there hasn't been like this massive awakening, shadow work, connection or process that's been triggered due to the other person. So please, if you check out for twin flame connections, check Chiron. Chiron is very, 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 very essential. Okay, because again, that is showing you the healing process that you need. Of course, we do have a healing process also indicated with our Pluto connections. Pluto is the phoenix, also connected to healing. But again, when we are talking divine counterparts, never neglect Chiron. There maybe have been some healing going on if there have been any problems with sexuality, since they do have that connection between Mars and Pluto. And again, Pluto is transformation, it's healing as well. And then I wrote down, we have no nodes contact. If it's a twin flame relationship, you probably would have nodes contact. Here we have his south node and his north node is here. Yeah, Jupiter is too far gone. It's like at 9 degree, and her Jupiter is 3 degree. Yeah, that's like a 6 degree orb. Yeah, I don't know. Well, that would basically mean that it's not a personal planet. I mean, it's you can count 6 degree orb for nodes, I think would be okay. It's not a personal planet. However, Jupiter is just growth and expansion, luck. So he, again, their meeting is bringing both of them luck and enhancing that luck. We have her nodes here, and again, you see those lines, there's no connection when it comes to their nodes. I'm not saying that their meeting wasn't destined. We don't have his vertex, we have her vertex. Vertex is also talking about destiny, and we do have no vertex connection, but again, we don't have his vertex, so there may be something going on. My twin flame and I, of course, we do have vertex and Juno connection. I think is it his vertex conjuncting my Juno? I think so, or vice versa. I don't remember right now. But in twin flame connections, check vertex connections and of course the nodes. Let's talk about vertex. I found this just to show you. If you ever wonder why certain people feel familiar to you, as if you've come across their energy before, but you can't quite put your finger on why, more often than not, it has a lot to do with your synastry. That is the astrological compatibility, what we're doing right now. which is the way your birth chart works together with another person. In each chart there's a specific point called vertex, and it's a point, that's why we don't see it in Jason's astrology. It's a mathematical point, like the rising sign or the midheaven, and you would need the exact date to get to that point. And when it's activated, fated circumstances may take place. So the vertex is connected to fate. We in twin flame relationship we have fated meetings, and there's several things connected to our vertexes in my twin flame horoscope. I remember Juno, which is of course a very close sign, since Juno is talking about your divine counterpart. I don't remember the other ones, doesn't matter. Though the vertex isn't an actual planet, it rises from the intersection of the prime vertical and the ecliptic in a birth chart, and it can describe why you feel drawn to certain people and not so much to others. It's similar to your rising or ascendant sign, in that it is a floating point in a chart that is subject to change. It is also often referred to as a second ascendant, but is primarily used to understand relationship dynamics. While astrology is a tool that can be used to uncover exactly where in life you'll have the most fortune, the vertex pinpoints exactly where this fate will likely unfold in your birth chart. There's more down here. We all have signs we love and signs we seemingly can't stand. If you're someone who constantly finds yourself drawn to Geminis, you may come to realize that your vertex placement is in that sign. Anyway, vertex is important since it is fate. What we don't have, of course, we see it's not related right now. What we don't have is the exact moment that they met, because it could be that in that exact moment, maybe Jason's transit, Venus was going right over her vertex. You know, that could have been. And vertex, I would also think that when it comes to fated meetings, the transits planets are important. However, we don't see the vertex connection here, which is something I noticed. No nodes, no Chiron, no vertex, which kind of like gave me more the impression that Jason more or less manifested her. That is what I think. It's we can influence our fates, and I have the theory that Jason, when he saw her as a kid, he dreamt of her and he manifested her. My theory. So let's go on. We do have a Mercury, square Mercury. Maybe we have one Mercury here. Where's the other? Her Mercury would be here. Okay, we have the Mercury square. That can indicate that maybe they sometimes do have some kind of disagreements, but then we do see that her Venus is like sextiling his Mercury, so I don't see that as something that is too massive or something that cannot be overcome. It could indicate that maybe they think kind of differently, but still Mercury squares can talk about stimulating each other when it comes to their intellect. But it depends on how open-minded they are, and again we do have a positive connection here. So when we do have squares, please always check, do we have something positive going on as well, because that would weaken the chaos a bit. What else do we have? Yeah, also a square connection can talk about that they're being very honest, maybe sometimes a bit too blunt, but again with the Venus connection, I don't think that's big of an issue. Then we do have, I was talking about Saturn, which is something that is amazing. So okay, we do have a lot of indications that they are soulmates, which you see that because there are connections between the personal planets. We do see that it has potential to last a lifetime with those amazing Saturn connections. We don't have his Saturn doing anything, but it doesn't matter because it's his Sun, Venus, and Mercury that is connected to her Saturn, and that is talking about the stability. So this is amazing. It's strong indication for not just again soulmates, but soulmates that can last. If they make it work, you always have to make it work, obviously. Then let's go to their composite, because that is again very important. The composite is the midpoint, and I'm just explaining it to you right here. We do have his Leo, his sun in Leo here, and her sun here, and the midpoint would be the middle of those two, so somewhere here in Libra, because it's again exactly the middle between those two, and that is done with every planet, like moon and moon. The middle would be somewhere probably here in Leo. So let's check that out. I made it here. Yeah, the moon is in Leo. Again, the sun is in Libra, and that is done with every planet. Unfortunately, we have to neglect the rising sign and the houses, because again, we don't have his exact birth time. It does automatically put it at noon, but what are the chances that he was born right at noon? So again, we don't have all of the information. So the composite chart is telling us about, first we analyze like their individual energies. Do they have similar energies? Then here we do have more about the relationship dynamic. And again, I was not checking everything about how is their dynamic. I was more looking for, do we find traits of soul connections? And the composite is also telling you has the ability to last long. It does, we do have it here, but here it is more about, you could say it's a birth chart of their relationship. That's what a composite is. It's a birth chart of their relationship. We do have squares, and also here don't be scared of squares, because squares are something you can overcome. Okay, and one thing that can indicate too strong like twin flame dynamic is having a lot in Cancer when it comes to composite charts, because Cancer kind of like the symbol indicates the yin yang symbol. So look, if you have a lot, we're not talking about a lot, we're talking about personal planets. We're not talking so much about having Saturn or Neptune or something like that in there. We're talking about Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mercury, Mars. Especially important, of course, Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus. So we do have the opposition here, which again is talking about some kind of friction, but it talks about sexual tension that can indicate fighting as well. But I don't think it's a lot of fighting, because we do have the sun. No, never mind the houses. The sun in the first house would be something that is amazing. Also, like here the 12th house stuff, but we don't know if that is actually true. However, I think they're sometimes a bit different, but they can make their differences work, because we did see that here. We do have again these Saturn connections. We don't have to put too much focus on Saturn Uranus. It just shows me that sometimes they go through changes and they can make that work. We do have a Saturn Mercury connection, which can again talk sometimes about not always being the same, like having the same opinion. But again, I wouldn't think that would be too big an issue. What is important more is we have this beautiful Moon Jupiter, which is again luck, both in the end feel lucky and happy with each other. We do have the Sun in Libra. Libra in comparison, of course, composite, I mean, shows that they are kind of focused on each other and they try to balance things out. They try to make it work. I can't say too much about the composite because we do not have Jason's time, unfortunately. But there's a lot of good stuff going on. We do have some squares here, which can indicate sometimes that there are difficulties, but I love that we do have the Saturn, Moon, and Jupiter sextile again. It's like, even if they're different opinions, when it comes to the core, the Moon is more the core, they get each other emotionally, they have each other emotionally. It's they are serious about this commitment, and they are serious about each other's feelings. They take each other serious and their emotional needs, and always try to make that work. I got channeled, Spirit channeled me a different kind of astrology. I don't know how to make it work because I don't have the programs to make it work. But it's something that Spirit channeled to me. We did have the Synastry here, and something that it's like how they interact with each other. But something that Spirit channeled to me is taking the composite and then applying it to each other's separate horoscopes. I don't know if there are programs who do that. Maybe those already exist. But we would, for example, see we do have the Sun here in Libra at 1 degree. And then we would check, does anyone have something close to Libra? Yeah, she has Venus in Libra at 7 degree. So this would also boost her sense of love. So Venus is here in Virgo 5 degree. Do we have anything in Virgo 5 degree? Yeah, we do. At least close. It's her it's his node, isn't it? What's his node? 9 degree. So this would kind of like indicate that for him this connection felt kind of fated, because we do have Venus connected to his north node, but also again to her Jupiter at 3 degree, and we did have, where was it, Venus at 5 degree. So it is bringing her luck and her love as well, this love. So you could basically see how the relation, because again, this is the horoscope of the relationship. This is Jason, this is Lisa, this is how they interact, and this is the relationship itself. And then you can kind of like apply this to each person and see how the relationship affects them. Let's see the moon. The moon is very important. You do have the moon in Leo, 20 degrees. Actually, it would be more important to see this and then connect it to that than vice versa. But we do have Leo, 20 degrees. Again, look, it's 20 degree would be here, this line. Jason is feeling very emotionally blessed with this connection. It is fulfilling his emotions completely, and also he Jupiter is luck. Jupiter is, maybe he has grown to be more emotional since he has been with her. But what I would do, for example, is we do have the Sun here at 24 degrees Scorpio, and then check, do we have anything 20 degrees Scorpio? No. But do we have anything 24 degrees another sign that there would be a trine or like a square or a sextile? But that I would have to do by hand, or see if there is a software who would do that. But that would be also interesting. I mean, we just did it manually with a couple of the planets. I love that they had the Jupiter connection with the Sun and the Moon. And the node, we did have the node with Venus, this Venus here, and his North Node, which again indicates that he feels, at least it's his emotion, he feels that this was fated. You see where I'm getting? But anyway, this is it for today. If you are interested in getting your own reading like this, your own analysis, and again, this is not so much like your compatibility, it is more talking about what indicates your high level soul relationship. Or of course, if I do see something funky, I would mention it. But if you're interested in that, contact me. It is I do have a special till the end of January. After that, prices will go up. So if you're interested, contact me as soon as possible, and yeah, I will analyze your own relationship. As I said before, I would need one person's exact dates, like time of birth, place of birth, and the other person's at least I need their birth dates. If you don't have the time, if you have the time, even better, then it can be more thorough. However, even though we don't have all of Jason's time or information, it doesn't indicate twin flames, but it does indicate a soul connection, most definitely. And it does indicate a connection that can last a lifetime. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell icon. There will be more videos like this and other videos about manifestation. If you have an idea of some kind of celebrity couple that you would like me to analyze, comment below, and if I feel guided to do that, I will, and if I don't, I won't. But yeah, if you, I don't know too much about celebrities, I have to admit, so I don't know about who is together with whom, who could be in some kind of soul connection. I just basically learned about Jason Momoa and Lisa by chance. I just kind of, I think, flipped through the channel and I just, the TV, and I heard it, or I don't know how I learned it. But again, I don't know a lot about celebrities. I don't do the gossip magazines. I was thinking about analyzing Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, and also Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. I recently saw in some kind of a twin flame Facebook group about one of the Kardashians, and don't ask me which one, and a guy she's been dating who's been really toxic, and then she fell in love with her neighbor, something like that. I wrote down the names, but I forgot. I don't know anything about Kardashians. Can say that very proudly. Never watched any episode of that. Who else did I want to do? Yeah, well, if you have any ideas of celebrity couples, it could also be like best friends or family members. And yeah, also if you are interested in a reading, it doesn't have to be your divine counterpart. It could be your best friend, or your relationship to your mother or sibling, or whatever it is. I am thinking about doing another video of this with my best friends. I have the okay, and also with at least one of my brothers. I already asked one and he said, yeah, sure, do that. Just to show you more about connections. Because in a relationship like this, it doesn't necessarily say, okay, you are romantic spouses, because Venus is, for example, love, and I do love my brother as well, and it's a different kind of love. But you cannot necessarily say, when you look at the chart, what kind of connection you have. I do have analyzed some connections with me and my friends where I took like a mother role, but still I'm not their mother. Also very important to me is, if you do this, like the site horoscope astrology.com, and you check your own stuff, please ignore this. Okay, look, they have only one loving aspect, they have 3 emotional pain, they have a lot of conflict. Ignore that, please, because as I said before, we do have some stuff that can show conflicts, like the square between Pluto and Mars, but then we do have a sextile here, which is between her Mars and his moon, which is a harmonious connection, which is making this less tragic is the wrong word, but it's the word that popped into my mind, making less strong. So you always have to check everything going on. So don't trust this, because this doesn't tell you too much. Also, squares are something that you can overcome, as I said before, and basically you can turn a square into a trine. Not in the birth chart, of course. You can't change the stars when you were born, but you can change the energy. For example, she could learn to get more into a Mars and Aquarius energy and just by changing her energy a bit, tapping more, which would be difficult because she doesn't have any Aquarius energy, but let's say she will have the moon in Aquarius, so she already has Aquarius energy in her. She could learn to tap more into the Aquarius energy and less into the Capricorn energy, which means she could basically change her energy a bit, or because we always grow, you know, this is not how it has to be for forever. And then when she taps more into the Aquarius energy, and that she strengthens that aspect, this would be even more peaceful. See what I'm getting at? So that is something that can be done. So don't be scared of, I mean, you don't want the whole thing full of squares. That could indicate a highly karmic or toxic relationship if it's all squares. If you have a lot of squares, you need positive things to even it out. That is very important. Very, very, very important. If you just have the hard stuff and none of the easy stuff, it may indicate it's more like a karmic connection. Okay, that was it. I was talking. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wish you all the best. Please again follow, subscribe, like, leave comments. It would help me grow my channel. Please check out my other content and be happy. Bye bye.